finally coming through. So I think every time I hear Gwen speak, I sort of wonder philosophically if we should rename Great Bear as Great Bear Market, because that's the kind of struggle that we keep having here. But it wasn't that good of a joke. I mean, the other thing is, I kind of think, like, metaphysically, Great Bear's in a very good situation. So I have this philosophical thought in my mind. I don't know if any of you gentlemen in the audience have ever wondered what it's like to be reborn as a beautiful woman. So, I mean, yeah. So I would say, like, I have to leave immediately after I conclude this because people absolutely need to hear about Great Bear in Toronto tomorrow, and then the following day, and the following day, and then New York City for days after that. So I think I kissed my kids goodbye today. I'll see them in about 2 weeks, and thank you very much. So I've got to do a bit of a mic drop right after this, and sorry, I'm just in a little bit of a hurry. So I'll just proceed through here. This is Bob Singh, the gentleman responsible for making 3 consecutive brand new high-grade gold discoveries right near the surface on the side of the highway under a power line in Red Lake over the last year. So 3 brand new discoveries in a year. I guess, like Gwen said, the threshold for getting market attention is very high. We put out the highest grade results we'd ever drilled on the project yesterday, which was about 12-ounce gold material, 75 meters from surface. And again, we traded sideways. So anyway, I think the market needs to understand that that is another brand new high-grade near-surface gold discovery. And I'm sure after we do a little bit more discussion, it probably will. Typical disclaimers. Just right off the top, Great Bear is a member of the Discovery Group of companies, so these are very intelligent and industry-savvy individuals that are in the office with us. Darren here from Bluestone is one of those gentlemen, so I'm sure that'll be a very interesting discussion. Many people will know my partner Bob Singh, who's our VP Exploration and a director of the company. When I leave, Doug Ramshaw, who is a director of Great Bear, will be here to address further questions. People will also know John Robbins and Jim Paterson, recently of Kaminak fame, and also instrumental in putting together a number of the companies on this list, which include Northern Empire that just got taken over by Coeur. So, good group of guys. Now, what makes Great Bear a success? Well, great gold results, but also a tight structure. We made sure when we got involved in Red Lake that we owned all of our projects 100% with no royalties on top of them as well. So we've generated very good traction in the market. The total acquisition cost of our Dixie property, our prime property, was about $205,000 or $210,000. So we managed to take the bear market they were into before this in 2015, and we acquired excellent assets, put them all together, consolidated land ownership, removed the royalties on the property, and then we started drilling. So that involved buying out a private vendor, buying out Newmont, and buying out the royalties. And then, like I said, we started making these back-to-back-to-back high-grade gold discoveries. So this is what's happened in the market. If you look at where we were when we did the initial acquisition on Dixie, this was about 2 years ago. So since then, we've gone from, I would imagine, somewhere in the 10-cent range to about $2 or just under $2 is the range that we're trading in now. There was an initial discovery around here. The dot should actually be down in this location. So that's when we made our initial 10 meters of 16 grams, which is in our Dixie limb zone. And then subsequent to that, we discovered our hinge zone, which is further along strike from there. Very excellent results. Like this was about 16 meters of 26 grams. This got revised higher. Initially, the second hole was 7 meters of 44.5. That became 7 meters of over 2 ounces. So again, all in the near surface. Just yesterday, we announced that we'd found a whole brand new zone, which is sitting at about 12 ounces, so 347 gram material, really just down from surface, 75 meters, and that's an entirely new gold-bearing trend. So where are we? We're located in Red Lake. One of the reasons we were able to pick up the project for a very good value is because even though we're right along the highway that runs outside of town, there's power lines running along here, and there was an original discovery from Teck Resources back in the 1980s, people thought that this was the wrong package of rocks. So you have 30 million ounces of gold produced here in the Balmer stratigraphy, which is a certain sequence of greenstones that are up in the main mine area. Everybody thought that this was the Confederation Formation greenstone belt, therefore it was just not prospective for gold. The more work that we do, the more we realize the geology is the same geology. It certainly resembles it very closely. What you see here in terms of the rock units and also the type and strength of gold mineralization. So because it was the wrong rocks in the wrong place, we were able to pick up the project at very good value. And then as we got to work, we began to figure it's the right rocks with the right type of gold right near surface just off the highway. So it's not quite Hemlo where your zones are sitting underneath the road, but it's the next best thing where you're about 2 kilometers away from the paved highway. So the work that we do, it's very cheap. So this is effectively what we've been doing. There's the drill rig over a year ago. This is when the drill rig was drilling the first 10 meters of 16-gram discovery on the zone. At that time, there used to be trees. There aren't any trees anymore. If you remember the title of the presentation, it's all been clear-cut by a local logging company. There's a network of logging roads all over the project, and like I said, it's right off the highway. So this is where we were drilling that first discovery. Everything we've done to date, and really I guess this is the only point of merit in the presentation, is that we've added all the value to the company. We've made all these gold discoveries with about 50 drill holes. Well, we're embarking on about 150 drill hole program now, and we're going to be drilling continuously through the remainder of this year and through next year. So with 50 drill holes, we managed to do a lot of good. With the 100 more than that here coming up, that'll bring the total of drilling on the project to over 65,000 meters, and I imagine we're going to see a lot of interesting stuff. What we have, this is a high-resolution geophysical survey of the project. The main band of geology that we were drilling when we got involved is along here. It's about 10 kilometers long. We've drilled across about 2.5 kilometers of this to date. There's over 100 holes into this contact along 2.5 kilometers. Every single drill hole has gold in it. So I've never seen that sort of continuity expressed in this district before, but that's really what makes it stand out in our minds. So that's what we call the Dixie Limb. It's basically this sort of Balmer-type geology from what you see in the main district, folding back on itself and repeating. So there'd be 10 kilometers of potential strike length on this side and another 10 kilometers going up along the other side. There's some big macroscopic folds on here, which I'll emphasize in a second. That's the control off our new discovery. So we'll get onto that in a sec. So here's some of the highlighted numbers from the Dixie Limb. Initially, it may not have been exciting for too many people when we took on the project, and the best drill result was 12 meters of 7.5 grams. The initial discovery, our 5th hole on the property, was 10 meters of 16, and that's cored by, as you can see, a meter of about 130 gram material. So it's a very prolifically mineralized contact over a big area, and now we have gold in every hole across about 2.5 kilometers, 2.3 kilometers, if I don't want to exaggerate. A number of very good holes on this, including some step outs that we completed recently, which brought it up to those totals that were sitting out a couple kilometers away. And very interesting to us, we've been doing some shallow drilling on the zone as well. We're getting wide intercepts at surface of kind of the gram to 3 gram material. This was one that we highlighted earlier this year of about 40 meters of about 1 gram. It's very interesting to me that all the gold that we're drilling appears to project right to surface. That could be very important in the future. So what does it look like in the Dixie Limb? Effectively, it's that stratigraphy that I talked about that folds on itself. This would continue going way off the map. So most of the drilling, as you can see, these are projections of grade to surface. You can follow them along the contacts there. This is the Dixie Limb zone. This is what we call the hinge zone that we put out numbers on recently. And the South Limb zone is over here, where we just announced another high-grade discovery. What does the Dixie Limb zone look like where drill holes pierce that appropriate contact? You can see that at the time I made this map, or Bob made this map about 1.5 years ago, we had 73 drill holes into the project. All of them had hit gold across about 500 meters at that point. And we saw in the geology that it was folding back on itself. We followed up with this hinge zone highlight. This messaged, I guess, what we were going to be doing. And this is where we hit our very high grade intercepts that were published about a month ago. So these are steeply plunging zones within that contact, and they should go down to very significant depths. Red Lake is known for having gold mineralization down to kilometers, like the main Red Lake discovery at the main mine operated by Goldcorp is mineralized down over 3 kilometers to depth. We're getting very nice gold grades. The difference with our project is they go right up to the surface. So the hinge zone that we put out results on recently, this is why we found it. We see where the geology folds back on itself and the grade is concentrated at that folding point. So we got very nice numbers here, these were historic holes that were in that hinge. We followed up with much better material, but in 3 dimensions, you can see how this would be laid out. So here are some of the highlight numbers from the hinge zone that we came up with. Some of the initial drilling, a couple meters of over an ounce. We started to figure out which way it's plunging down that hinge. So here we go, 22 meters of 19 grams, 5 meters of 51, 7 meters of 68 grams. If you look at the depths on these vertically, it's about 100 meters from surface. The next discovery that we just announced yesterday that we made was by using the overall folded geometry of the belt to predict, much like at the main Red Lake gold mine and at other deposits in the area where you have these big macroscopic folds, where you'd get an entirely new generation of gold enrichment, and that's along the axis of this big regional D2 fold. So by taking a page out of those books, we figured that we would have a big regional fold closure along here. Here's the D2 fold axis. Here's another one that we haven't started to test. There's other fold axes that head up along the project in different areas, but we put some test holes here, 100 grams over 1.75 meters. It was about a 10-meter wide vein with high grade on each side of it, and it's a brand new near surface gold discovery. So here's some of the numbers that we just put out yesterday. I would just encourage anybody to look at those at their convenience. And what could investors expect from Great Bear over the next year? Again, with 150 drill holes just starting, and that's another 30,000 meters of drilling, I would just point back in time and look at the result that 3 sequential high-grade near-surface discoveries have had on our company, and what it may mean as we explore the full 25-kilometer strike length of the project and test a number of other targets that we've identified. So really, in a nutshell, that's what I would look for going forward through 2018 and 2019. Thanks.